look here. There we go. And this is the popping up to say, you are magical card. I'm going to show you the simple and easy way to create this little pop-up card featuring the Terrific Toadstool bundle. If you've just clicked in, you clicked by Just Stamp with Anna Marie. This is card number 3 in this week's free online card class featuring the Terrific Toadstools. I'm going to push that aside. As I create, I'm going to walk you through the supplies needed. I mentioned the free paper. It comes from the Sale-a-Bration catalog, and it is one of the picks available for a $60 order. You can pick this Toadstool Gardens Designer Series paper. The bundle itself is featured in the new mini catalog that just launched last week. It's on page 53, and it's a punch bundle, so creates lots of fun cards. For today's card, here's what we're going to need. It has a thick, basic, wide card base. We have a layer of Granny Apple Green that's 3 3/4 by 5. And we have a sheet of that Toadstool Gardens paper. It measures 3 1/2 by 4 3/4. On the flip side are those cute mushrooms. It's almost a shame to use the flip side, but we're going to. I also have other cuts from the Granny Apple Green and the pattern paper. These measure 3 3/4 by 1 1/2 and 3 1/2 by 1 1/4. I have a cut of Melon Mambo. It's about 2 3/4 by 3/4. That's for our label. And I have a die cut, a basic white. Now this comes from a very cool die set that you won't find in any catalog. It's online. It's an online exclusive. It is called Everyday Arches. And let's see the number in case you're interested, 164629. Look at all the layering arches that you can get. So you can do your mat and your focal point stamping layer. And today I'm using the 5th largest. So if I start from the smallest, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Wow, there's a lot. 6, 7, 8, 9. There are 10 layers in this Everyday Arches. It's an online exclusive again, so you're not going to see it in a catalog. And I have pre-die cut 1. So let's see. Let's get started with our stamping first. We're going to stamp here. We are going to do some embossing, and then we'll do some card building. So let's start with the focal point art, which is that little arch, and we are going to do some flat stamping. I'm taking the leaf from the stamp set, and let me show you my colors today. So I'm using Melon Mambo, Pumpkin Pie, Granny Apple Green, Gray Granite, and Black. For the leaves, you've guessed it, I'm using the Granny Apple Green. And I'm just going to create a little bit of foliage that will pop behind the mushrooms. So one I'm going to do rather low. And one is going up a little bit higher. This will pop from behind the larger mushroom. And then one more peeking out at the top of my smaller mushroom. All right, then I'll set that aside. We're going to do some stamping on a scrap that can be punched out or hand stamped. So, are you starting to like the mushrooms yet? I hope I'm convinced you with my card samples. And this is just one style. There are so many options with the magical Terrific Toadstools. All right, so I'm going to do a mushroom cap in Melon Mambo. That's going to be my larger. Let me flip it this way since I'm right-handed. And this can be punched with the coordinating punch to the Terrific Toadstools. gonna stamp. Oh, I don't like that. I'm gonna go again. See all that I missed inking there. And I even have a chipboard underneath that helps with the photopolymer stamps. Pressing hard, much better. Okay, then I'm going to stamp, and I think that's it for Melon Mambo. So I'm going to put that away before I get inky. I'm going to bring in the pumpkin pie. And these colors were pulled from the coordinating paper. So this is pumpkin pie. Perfect. All right, I'm sipping from my Scotty cup, and the Scotty also is in his PJs. It's nice to get a leisurely start to the day, right? Instead of hitting the ground running every day. It's nice and quiet, relaxing. Okay, so the punch itself is a little bit smaller than the stamped image, which means there won't be any white. There won't be a white outline on your punched art. So we've got the two caps. And then we are going to leave that punch nearby. We're going to stamp our stems. And today I'm using gray granite. Gray granite is the color pulled from the paper. And I'm just going to do a full force. And let's see if I can get that smaller one can be punched from the coordinating punch. This one, no, I need a bigger piece. The larger stem needs to be hand snipped. All right, then, and I'm gonna do a step before I actually cut these. And yesterday I mentioned some of the techniques that you can try with the markers. And so I'm gonna do a second. Yesterday I showed you just the bordering that you can achieve with the markers. Today I'm gonna do the flecking or speckling. So what we're gonna do is take the brush side and flick it on the inside of the cap onto the cardstock. So, these, I'm gonna talk as I go. The markers are an option in the starter kit during Sale-a-Bration. You can choose 2 of the marker families and get a stamp set that coordinates with the offer, in addition to your starter kit picks. So that brings the value up to over $200. If you don't need the markers, you can choose a different option, which gives you an extra $30 in picks. All right, so now I'm gonna punch that. I'm gonna show you close up what happened when I flecked. So you can see the little spots, whoops. Oh, maybe on the larger one. You can see the little spots, the little texture on the mushroom stems from the flecking. Gives it a more texturized look. And then I'm gonna hand snip my larger stem. I think I have several Terrific Toadstool cards ready to go. Yesterday I spent the day catching up from Monday. That's the story of my life, catching up from the day before. So those of you who placed an order during the heart-shaped free card class, the cards kits were prepped and shipped yesterday. So thank you so much for supporting me by placing an order. The order for the free kit only needs to be $40. If you want a free Sale-a-Bration pick, you need to place a $60 order. And the kits include all of the materials to make the cards that I'm featuring during the Facebook Live. So 3 cards, free kit for a $40 order, and free pack of DSP from the Sale-a-Bration brochure for a $60 order. All right, so I've got my mushroom pieces. I'm going to continue on with my stamping. I'm going to go ahead and do my stamping and my embossing for the outside sentiment. For that, I'm using a cut of Melon Mambo that's 3/4 wide by about 2 3/4. And I'm stamping with my Versamark pad, which means it's going to be clear, you won't be able to see it. Then I'm going to add my white embossing powder. It is Wow embossing powder because it melts nicely. And this goes right centered. This is the magical technique of heat embossing. It was one of the first techniques I learned, and it is awesome. I just think it's so cool the way everything comes together. You do need the Wow embossing powder and a heat tool. So this is what the little container looks like. It's sold in sets of 3. So the whites are from the basics. You're going to pour this on, and I'm going to help myself out with a little tool that holds my cardstock because the heat tool gets hot and you don't want to burn your fingers. So let's see if I can scrape up some of this white embossing powder. And you just want to pour on plenty and then shake it off. Tap it off. That removes any excess. You want to make sure every piece of your sentiment got some powder. All right, then the next step is to heat set it or melt it. You need the embossing tool. It's a little bit noisy, but it won't take long. And so you can heat from the bottom, you can heat from the top. You will know it's ready when everything is shiny. You don't see any dull bits. Right now I still see powder. And it doesn't take long once the heat tool is hot. I can already see my letters melting. And this technique also gives you a little bit of texture. When you rub your finger over the image, you can feel the height. You can feel the texture. So popping up to say hi. That's done with that. All right. We're done there. I'm going to remove my tool, and I'm going to add a little bit of edging to this. I'm using my, can't remember the name of the punch. It's got two sides, a ticket side and a scallop side. Well, there you go, you can see. Or you might be able to see better down this side. I'm going to use that scallop side, just sliding in my cardstock. And you want to balance it between those ridges. It has that nice little scalloped edge. I'm going to flip that and do the other side as well. There we go. We're set. Take another sip of my coffee. I'm still getting the cough. So we still have some fires going, a little fire or smoke in the air. And so if you're watching this live, it is January 15th. Lots of fires going on in mostly the LA area, but they're spreading. And why? Okay, let's see. I can't see any comments. I can't even see. I'm kind of monitoring comments and trying to see everything's okay on camera. And for some reason, I'm not finding the video. I'm going to go ahead and continue. Facebook is different this week, so hopefully we've got everything going the way it should be. So now I'm going to start assembling my focal point, and I'm going to start kind of at the end. I'm going to pop up the label because everything's going to be tucked behind. So I'm going to put dimensionals behind. I don't want them to interfere with my arrangement, so I'm going to use 2 dimensionals at the side. Right like this. And it's going to go right below or right above that nice little stitching that's on, whoops, I do want to center it, that's on the die cut. So I'm going to show you close up. These everyday arches are sweet. So the die cut itself is going to have that stitching all the way around the die cut. Now I'm ready to add my larger mushroom, and it's going to be popped up. And the trick with the mushroom stems is to not put adhesive at the tip top because I want to overlap that with the cap. So you'll see. And this one I want kind of tilted to the right. I want it to stand. I want the cap to stand off like so. And that's about the direction I want. So I'm going to place that down. The cap also goes on a dimensional. And I don't necessarily need one on the other side. You can place one there. It won't interfere with your mechanics. So there's the larger. Let's place the smaller. And this one, and I love the way you can see the flecking. I wish you could see it. You can kind of see it on camera. Let's see, I'm going to, I thought I had a small, things go missing fast on my tabletop. I had a small strip of dimensional. Let me trim another piece. Let's see, I'm looking for my scissors. There we go. Always looking for something, right? Okay. And you know what? I think I know why. Like so. And I'm going to have this one going slightly different direction and add my dimensionals. And place it right in there. There we go. So there is my focal point art. This is going to get layered onto my designer series paper, and I've got 2 sides in the paper. This way I decided was too busy, although I love the pattern. Too busy for me, so I'm going to flip it and use those falling leaves with the granny apple green. This is going to be flat adhered. So let me bring in this. Right here. And I'm going to have about 1/16 of an inch border. All right, then we're going to add the focal point art with dimensionals. There we go. And there we go. All right, so our focal point is ready to go. Let's create our card base. Oh, let's do one more step before we get our card base out. This layer is going to be the stop for our pop-up card. So I'm just going to, this time I am going to use the pattern to pattern side, or the colorful pattern side. It's going to get matted or mounted onto the Granny Apple green layer. This is going to go on the inside of the card. And my card base is basic white. We need to do a little bit of scoring here. Let me bring in my paper trimmer. Trying to make some space here. Okay, so first score is at 2 3/4. And the second score is at 5 1/2. And that's all. By the way, the card base is standard 4 1/4 by 11. So 2 cards from one sheet. We're going to fold it in half at the 5 1/2 inch score. And then at the 2 3/4, we're going to fold that as well. So it's going to be like a rolled fold. This goes in. I'm going to bring it in to meet the 5 1/2 inch score and burnish. So it's going to go like this. Before we add our focal point, let's do some stamping. So the inside greeting is going to say, "You are magical." So popping up to say, "You are magical." We're going to do a little bit of greeting in basic black. And I'm doing it slightly to the left because I'm going to add a little bit of art to the right. There we go. And then I'm going to add one of those cute little button mushrooms, gray granite stem, and this is part of the stamp set. There's the tiniest little stem stamped in gray granite off to the right. And then we're going to do a melon mambo cap. Tiny little cap. And I'm going to angle that ever so slightly. There we go. You are magical. You have plenty of space to write a message. Then let's put our focal point onto the card, outside of the card. We're going to lay that flat. This is going to come in here on the card front. And I'm not going to put adhesive on the upper half, only on the lower. So the way I like to do that, so I make sure I'm not extending beyond my boundaries, I'll put it on the card front itself, and then at the base of the art layer. And you could do a couple of, then this gets pretty much centered in here. Right, like so. Make sure you press to get it secure. And to keep this propped up, this layer needs to go on with dimensionals. There we go. Okay, and then let's add this. We're going to have a little bit of a wider border. And see how that stops. That way you have a card that will be propped up on the desk, folds flat to mail, and let's put a little embellishment there. I love the tiny bee trinkets, and I only need one. You could put more if you want it to be a little bit more blingy. I like to place it with a glue dot. And the glue dot is larger than the bead trinket, so excuse me, all I do is fold it over, fold the glue dot over. And this is going to go right up here above the little mushroom. And there we go. There is today's magical card popping up to say you are magical. So there we go. So this is, again, is card number 3 in this week's free online card class, Terrific Toadstools. There's card 3. I'm going to go backwards. Card 2 and card 1. There we go. If you are interested in the free class, place your online order, $40 or more, by Sunday, and I will put the direct link to shop. You can also pick out the designer series paper as a free gift during celebration with a $60 order. All right, my friends, I will be back on Friday at happy hour time to share more cards with you, more inspiration. Thanks so much for joining. See you next time.